Welcome back. You're watching Sunday Edition here on KTN News. I'm speaking to Professor Eri Tumbo, Jubilee strategist Mutinda Kavemba, NASA Presidential Campaign Coordinator, Professor Isaiah Kindiki, and our political risk analyst here on the show, Dismas Mokua. Let's now get into some politics, or a bit of what will be something that will be having a very big impact on preparations for the August 8th general election. That has been a ballot paper printing tender, which has been the bone of contention in the last few weeks or so, especially, IEBC maintaining they want to go ahead with Al Ghurair, Dubai-based printing firm, to go ahead with that tender. The NASA, of course, being opposed to that. Finally, the court did make its ruling. Let's listen in to that court ruling.
We find that this court not only has jurisdiction, but it will be an abdication of its constitutional mandate to hold otherwise.
An order of mandamus compelling the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, to commence de novo the procurement process for the award of the tender for the printing of election materials for the presidential election scheduled for 8th August 2017 in accordance with the Constitution, the provisions of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, and the relevant election laws, so as to ensure that free, fair, credible, and transparent elections are conducted on the 8th of August 2017.
What those learned gentlemen are trying to say in simple terms that was cancelled, that tender by Al Ghurair. It has elicited some reactions. Let's listen into what some of the presidential candidates had to say about it.
Sisi tulipendekeza katika mahakama kwamba tunaweza kuprint hizi ballot papers hapa Kenya. Nasema hivi sababu hivi leo tuna print pesa za Kenya hapa Kenya. Tuna print certificates kama za KCSE, KCSE, KCPE, zile za chuo kikuu, university. Tuna print zote hapa Kenya. Kwa hivyo tunaweza kufanya hivyo hapa Kenya.
Wanasukuma IEBC. IEBC nasukuma tu. Si ati wanapenda. Wanasukuma tu mpaka muende Dubai. Mpaka tuende Dubai. Nasema hatuendi Dubai.
All right. Dismas, what is your initial reaction to this development for the IEBC in its road to August 8th, 29 days to go?
Number one, that decision was by majority. And what Justice Ngugi has just said, he said free, transparent, fair, credible, all those. And one wonders actually what is happening at IEBC. Because you've seen in the recent past, IEBC for some reason has got a very high appetite for going to the Court of Appeal, even after High Court has made a ruling. And you see, we are not talking about a one-man bench. We are talking about a three-judge bench, which has made a ruling. So one begins to wonder, where does this appetite come from? And is Chebukati and company really concerned about Wanjiku, or are they serving some interest elsewhere? And it's not very hard to come to the conclusion that unlike other countries, politicians in Kenya, they want to win elections, and at the same time, they want to make money from every process. Because this is really about commercial catfights. There must be persons within IEBC and these printing companies who are intent on making a dollar out of every process. And in the process, they may want to compromise our electoral outcomes. Right. But it's important to give the judiciary a pat on the back, because this is one of the benefits of the 2010 Constitution that has given them judicial independency and a decisional independency, that they can actually apply their minds and make a ruling that is sensitive to the wishes of Kenya. And it's important for people to realize that when these judges are making these rulings, they're not making them in a vacuum. Justice Onduka indicated as much, that these people actually stay in Kenya. So when they're making the decisions, they're making the decisions to serve the best interest of the nation. There are some people from other political parties who are claiming to say that we don't have enough time, that NASA and Professor Kindiki could probably confirm this, that they're looking for us not to have elections on the August 8th so that we can now go to a Nusumkate government, and which I think is really a fallacy of a generalization. Because IEBC had indicated that they're going to be starting the printing of the ballots on the 18th of this month. So there's enough time for IEBC to undergo through this process and ensure that everything is free, fair, right, and unpredictable. All right. And Ben, we must be very careful, because in Kenya, elections is about life and death.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, and we must now start identifying who are these external forces at IBC influencing the decision-making process, that the entire commissioner, the commissioners have now been held hostage. Before they take a decision, it seems they have to take advice from external bodies, so that we actually understand whether or not it makes sense for us to go and cast our ballots, or a decision has already been taken somewhere.
All right. What is the view of Jubilee, Mutinda, for this decision?
This is IBC is an independent institution. I listened to Chebukati, and Chebukati seemed to have agreed with the ruling, and he's actually called for a meeting of stakeholders. And I applaud that, because I think that should be the direction to go, as opposed to appealing because of the time constraints. And I do not think that it is going to cause anybody so much harm or inconvenience by adhering to that court ruling. Because as Jubilee, what we would want is to have an election that will give nobody any excuse not to respect the results or the outcome. And I think that contesting that ruling would be taking us back to giving people room for excuses, not reasons, excuses. So I'm happy about that, because as at now, there is nothing that is contentious about the August election if we go by the court ruling. Right. If we don't, they'll still remain a contentious issue, and I don't think that is good for the country. So it is on that kind of thinking that makes me agree with that ruling and applaud the IEBC for having respected that ruling and having taken direction to implement whatever decision the court came up with. I think that is good for the country.
Right.
Not necessarily for NASA, not necessarily for Jubilee, but for the country. Because having a credible election is good for the country. That makes it very difficult or impossible for anybody to incite people because of the outcome. Once people have faith in the credibility of the process, then no one will have a basis to come and start inciting us and, bring in antagonism amongst Kenyans. That's why I think we need to go by that rule.
Professor Tumbo, was it necessary to cancel the tender this close to the election?
I am not quite sure whether I want to answer your question the way you have asked.
You don't want to answer my question
the way you have asked.
He's a teacher. He wants to set exams.
Sorry, it's nothing personal. The first thing is, I wanted just to make a comment in passing. It's important to note, from a political perspective, this is a political show, that the president's appointment of Matiang'i politically has no leverage in Kisii. It is simply a presidential act to deal with the pertaining circumstances. Now, while going back now to your question...
You have to go back there.
Yes, I've got to go back, because you see, you are my host. I want to give an answer to that question.
All right.
The first part is, my view is that the purpose of any organization going to court is to seek recourse and assistance of a referee, which is the courts, in understanding and implementing certain aspects of the Constitution. So I see the court's decision as part of the process of cleaning up our electoral process. In other words, let's get things right. This time we are getting them right the second time. We should get them right the first time. Secondly, it's extremely important to understand that if this particular decision has gone well with IEBC, has gone well with Jubilee, has gone well with NASA, and has gone well with the other parties, then it helps us to change our attitude, our mental attitude, that this decision that was figured it was going to injure a lot of people has not actually injured anybody. It has helped the country. Now, in fact, when I think about this particular decision, then I am thinking about the way forward. I'm suspecting that there is another one about the voters register. The IEBC was supposed to have, public release, publish the voters register. It has not done it. Nothing has happened. Now, this particular action has helped to give them room to correct this, to publish the voters register, so that there isn't another occasion of a party going to court to say the constitution has been violated.
Right.
So overall, the decision has been well taken. I've also taken it very well, and it has helped in the cleanup of our electoral process.
So you're saying it is necessary?
Yes.
Yes. Very many words.
Yes. I've been trying to answer it my way.
That's good. All right. Prof, what do you think about this? I mean, as NASA, I know you wanted that tender cancelled. What is your take on this decision?
It's not a question of cancelling the tender. We are living in a country, or the country called Kenya, where issues of tender, most of them, nothing goes right. And I want to congratulate two groups of people here. One is His Excellency, the former Prime Minister, who has been consistent in raising a red flag in the whole journey towards the corrupt electoral process. Right from when the other commission was wiped out of the stage, after so many demonstrations, and coming to this tender, there are patriotic Kenyans who went to court because of this issue. But what has been the commission doing? Sitting back and pretending nothing is wrong, only for the chairperson to come out, face the public, and he gleefully says that it's okay, we are going to comply and to do ABCD. The chairperson and the entire commission are people of high esteem in this republic. Why can't they do a simple procedure? It shows two things: either blackmail, two, incompetence, or, constructed incompetence. Because to me, I believe they were interviewed, they were found to be competent, but what they are doing here, pretending to be incompetent, I say constructed incompetence, if not, is a question of blackmail. When this announcement came out, I was deep in the Rakanedi. And there were two groups that went into heated debates. One, NASA, the other one, Jubilee, or who were against it. And you know what they were saying? That this thing should go to the Court of Appeal, and the hearing should be set around October. And in that October, the judgment should be delivered somewhere in June, so that they can keep on going to court, and we go on. Look at the level of impunity. And these are senior citizens talking about this.
All right.
We need one country, peaceful elections, free, just, and led by a competent commission. But what they are doing here, telling us there's no time to do this, there's no time. Then where was yesterday when they were doing the wrong thing? Why did they waste our yesterday?
All right.
So the issue is that let's see more of this commission
Prof,
doing
there has
more
been,
right things than wrong things.
There has been an accusation against your coalition, NASA, that you have been pushing for this so that you can have the election postponed.
Those who watched the news yesterday, my presidential candidate, His Excellency former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, speaking in Coast, he said he is campaigning for elections on the 8th of August 2017. Any other date is Jubilee propaganda. They are busy looking for sympathy votes. There's nobody interested in Nusu Mukate. There is nobody interested in postponement of elections, but we are interested with justice, fairness, and everything that is right.
All right. Let's focus on the commission now for a bit, the IEBC. Let's listen into their reaction to that decision, to that ruling. Let's listen to the IEBC chairman, Wafula Chebukati.
The Commission shall hold a meeting with all presidential candidates on the 10th of July 2017 at 11 a.m. 2. The Commission shall invite the public to submit memoranda on procurement of presidential ballot papers to reach us by 11th of July 2017 by 5 p.m. And this will be followed by public hearings on the 12th of July 2017. 3. The Commission shall appeal to the High Court decision on public participation in procurement processes.
So that is the chairman of the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, giving a roadmap of the next few days. This to be done by 11th. That is on Tuesday, I believe. So what next now? I mean, as we wind this up, Dismas, fresh procurement. How will this affect preparations for the elections? And what will make IEBC get it right this time?
You know, after the ruling by the three-judge bench, the IEBC lawyers, they prayed for a stay of that order so that it's declared, I don't know, they refer to it as so that they can get time to go to the Court of Appeal. So, but the big question one keeps asking himself is, why is IEBC very keen to go to the Court of Appeal? Why do they want to spend a lot of time and resources going to appeal? Why can't they just do the basic things and obey the court order? I mean, is that an external force? Because three judges have pronounced themselves on this matter in very clear, in black and white, that we are having an issue with public participation. Redo this process afresh. Why does IEBC want to go to the Court of Appeal? Because they have claimed that it's going to take a lot of time, it's going to waste a lot of time. So why do they want to waste time? Why can't they just do the right thing for the first time? And it's important for them to ensure that when this time around, when they're doing the public participation, they're guided by that ruling so that they get it right. And so that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, there was a full plenary which suspended senior managers, including the ICT director, Mwati, and then it was been readmitted back to the commission using a backdoor. One is wondering, if a full plenary said that this guy must be suspended, why can't you again have a full plenary to readmit him back to his position? So one begins to wonder, this Chebukati commission, is it being held hostage by an external body? And if there's an external body holding IEBC hostage, is it possible that as a nation we can actually identify that body so as to deal with this? Because we don't want to get into a situation that on August 10th we get into a crisis because of some external forces which are holding IEBC hostage. That is making IEBC fail to deliver a credible election. And you know, for the very first time, the High Court judges were very clear. They said, the procurement must be done in a manner so as to guarantee Kenya a free, credible, transparent election. So the big question that we must keep on asking Chebukati is, why is he reluctant to obey High Court orders? Why does he always want to run to the Court of Appeal and probably the Supreme Court?
Prof, what are your recommendations? Way forward.
Way forward is for the Commission to do what is just and right and save us from these theoretics of court battles. And they will remain in history as a commission that guided this country into a fair and just election that brought forth a new Kenya on the 8th of August.
Mutinda?
Right of appeal is enshrined in the Constitution, and I do not think that it is fair to make them look bad just because they've opted to exercise that. The most important thing is that they are already acting because they were denied the stay. They actually tried to ask for the stay, but they were denied the stay. Because the big question is this. You see, the court allowed for the continued printing of the other 5 slots, and yet all of these 6 ballots that were to be printed had been procured the same way. So the big question I think IEBC has been asking is this public procurement requirement, does it only apply to the presidential ballot and not the other 5? And if it applies to all, why then did you only pick the presidential ballot? I think that's the point that they would want the Court of Appeal to clarify. But that does not mean that they should defy the court ruling. And from the statement given by Chebukati, the chairman there, it is clear that they are pursuing both. They are complying with the court order, and that's why they've called for the meetings, but they are also exercising their right of appeal. The most important thing is to ensure that we don't get into a situation where we jeopardize the credibility of the coming election. So what we need to be more focused on is to ensure that everybody is satisfied with the process of election in August.
What struck me in Chebukati's presentation is that there was no attempt, after stating that you accept the ruling, there was no attempt to explain themselves why they have been saying what they have been saying. You see, that is what creates the curtain, that there is something going on in the background. Because in my view, I expected Chebukati to say, while we accept the decision of the High Court, we still have serious reservations vis-a-vis our calendar of events We had planned to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the process, we realized clearly that there will be no time. But accepting that ruling, which obliterated the claim that there is no time, and then IEBC doesn't explain it, it suggests, and this agrees with what Dismas was saying, collusion between IEBC and some force in the background. This is just common sense. Secondly, there is an important aspect that, in my view, he did not also do. He did not explain, all right, why the previous decision of sending home certain senior managers was explained to the public, and returning them is not explained to the public. He leaves room for suspicion, which further cements their claim that there is a manipulation in the background. Now, clearly, I would have expected Chebukati to say that the courts have assisted us in being more effective, more efficient in our undertaking of Nino. Now, finally, I want to say this thing about this Jubilee noise about Nusmukate clearly is part, in my view, of that impunity mentality, whereby the things, you are doing the things badly. When anybody points out that, look, let's do them right, you keep saying, no, you look for a different excuse. What we need what is required as we go forward is all parties participating in the election clean up their thinking. The thinking is absolutely dirty. For example, NASA appears much more in tune with the Constitution. Jubilee is listening to itself. It's carrying on its activities and trying to make the Constitution bent as much as possible to make them look credible. That's really unfortunate.
Believing its own hype.
I don't think I don't think there's any basis for that kind of allegation, unless he has, of course, substantiated where Jubilee seems not to be in tandem with the Constitution or trying to bend it to its convenience. The other thing is that it's also worth noting that most of the allegations that made court go to court were not upheld by the court.
Right.
It was about the relationship of the Al Ghurair with some people in Jubilee, and that was thrown out. So honestly, that is really not why the court ordered the IEBC to. It was because of public participation. So it's also important that for people to know that it is not all allegations that are made by NASA against IEBC that can be substantiated. That ruling is clear evidence to that.
Fair enough. Thank you. You're watching Sunday Edition here on KTN News. We take another quick commercial break. When we return, Realpolitik continues. This time we go to the campaign trail to find out what has been happening politically. Don't go too far.
This is KTN News.